Utah is big, it's beautiful, and it's booming. And after so many years of living here as a Utah native and helping countless people make the move here, I've seen real regrets when making the move to Utah. But it's not because Utah's not a phenomenal place to live, but it is because people just don't know the pitfalls and how to avoid them. In the next few minutes, I'm going to share the top 7 regrets that people have when they make the move here, but more importantly, what you need to know to do and to prepare for so that you can avoid those very same mistakes. Let's dive in. Okay, regret number 1 is moving to the wrong neighborhood or community. Look, so many factors determine whether or not you're going to enjoy living in a specific area or a specific neighborhood or city. And all the other factors that come into play, the pros and cons of each particular neighborhood is relevant because every part of the city, every part of the valley or the metropolitan areas can be quite different, including the climate. In fact, there are some areas that you can be high enough up above the inversions to avoid them in the wintertime. And there are other areas that struggle with certain challenges that other areas just 5 minutes away don't. And so you really want to know the nuances, the micro nuances of each and every area that you're considering. And from a macro level, from 30,000 feet up above the air, I think it's really crucial to first dial in the regions, the areas that are most appealing to you, and then get really dialed in to the specific neighborhoods that are going to serve you and your family the very most. And every one of these areas is going to have such differences, and the only way that I can really dial you in with knowing exactly where's the best place for you is to speak with you and have that consultation where I can really ask the right questions so that I can best see what fits your lifestyle, your work, and your family situation. And as always, it's super crucial to make sure that we dial in the area that you want to live in long before we pick out the house. So houses, yes, they're important, but really, honestly, it's the community that you've got to pick first. Okay, regret number 2 is budget busters. What does that mean? Well, it means you've moved to an area where something's going to hurt your budget that you didn't quite realize. One of those things can be HOA fees. Certain areas, certain homes can have HOAs that are quite substantial. And if you're coming from an area where you're not used to that, it can really put some strain onto your pocketbook. Also, it could mean that you're picking a place that's just too close to the mountains or the ski resorts, because as these things are more desirable, it's kind of like our version of oceanfront property. So if you're really dialed in with your budget and with the realistic expenses that you're going to be incurring while living in an area, you're going to avoid these big mistakes. Another one of these budget busters could be, do you have a really large lot in a really large neighborhood or a lot of land to water? Because your water bill could be astronomical if that's the case. Another thing to consider is your elevation. If you're living up above 5,000 or 6,000 feet elevation, you're going to experience a lot more snow, and that's going to incur more heating costs and other expenses with respect to snow removal and other things. And so all of these things come into play when factoring in the budget for living in a specific area. And all of this is to say, it's really crucial to make sure that we dial in the cost of living for that specific area, because the cost of living in a suburban area down in the valley is quite different than some of the other areas. And we want to make sure that you're aware of what those are so that it's realistic and you know what you're getting yourself into. And while it is more appealing to have that very large yard, is it something that you're going to want to spend that much money every month in water to maintain that yard? Or are you going to want to incur the expenses of finishing or landscaping that yard and paying for fencing? Because those are very substantial expenses as well. And I've just seen too many people get themselves into a situation where they weren't factoring in the budget for all of the expenses combined to the point where they wish they would have bought somewhere else. Okay, next up, the next regret that I see a lot of people have is having realistic commute times. If they've underestimated the infrastructure and how long it takes to get from point A to point B during rush hour at the time of day where they're commuting, that can be a deal breaker. And it's really wise to know not just where the current traffic patterns are heaviest, but where are they going to be heaviest in the coming months and years, because the traffic patterns are cyclical depending on construction of current and new infrastructure. For example, I live in the southwest corner of the the Salt Lake Valley, in South Jordan, and specifically in the neighborhood of Daybreak. And we have a massive highway just to the east of us in the Bangalore Highway that for 10 years has been being converted to a full freeway. Currently, right now, they're working on 4 more interchanges, and as they complete these 4 interchanges this fall, this will be a full working freeway all the way down to I-15. It's going to be phenomenal, but for the time being, it's really putting a strain on moving back and forth east to west across Bangalore Highway, because the only places to cross over become very congested, especially between the hours of 4 and 6 p.m. as you're trying to get from one place to another. And while this is just a current temporary challenge this summer and fall, because this project will be completely finished, it's going to be something to be mindful of. And if you can deal with those things in the short term to experience the long-term benefits of the project, it might not be a deal breaker at all. In fact, it might be a positive. But on the other side of South Jordan and the west side of the Salt Lake Valley, there's another highway that's being built and converted to a full freeway, and that's the Mountain View Corridor. The Mountain View Corridor is extending all the way from Salt Lake County down south into Utah County, where it's currently under construction. There's also going to be a connector that connects to I-15, which means this particular highway might end up being known as I-315. I don't know, that's just my guess, but there are other projects that are extending out to Eagle Mountain and down through Saratoga Springs, and so this particular area is the most challenging area for traffic right now, but in the coming months and years, it's going to be dramatically better, and that's a good thing. There are other areas throughout the cities that can be challenging regardless of the time of year or regardless of the projects, so we want to make sure that you understand those choke points, those traffic patterns, and what's going to impact your daily commute depending on where you're going and at what time of day. And look, overall, Utah and Salt Lake City specifically have really good traffic patterns with respect to commute times to get into work and to get into the city. It's actually far better than most American cities, including almost all of the cities in the Western United States. It doesn't mean, however, that we don't have challenges with growth. We can feel it. It is palpable this year and last compared to previous years, how much more impactful these traffic patterns are and how much more congested it's becoming because of the growth that we're experiencing. So when you and I talk through your goals and where the best places to live might be for you, we're definitely going to talk about your future and current job opportunities to make sure that you're aware of what those commute times are realistically going to be, not only now, but in the near future as these projects are completed. Okay, next up, the next regret that I see a lot of people having is when they go and they purchase new construction homes, they're not doing proper inspections, whether that be a radon inspection or a full home inspection, and they make the purchase of the home of their dreams and they move in, and just all too often there's too many defects or too many problems that they weren't able to see beforehand. The best advice I could possibly give you, if you are looking at new construction, the new construction techniques, the structures of the homes that are built today are dramatically better than they were just decades ago, including 20 to 30 years ago. However, the cosmetic components and the finishes and fixtures in the home oftentimes are quite a bit cheaper. And so it's really important as a new construction specialist myself to make sure that I'm guiding my clients through that inspection period, and we bring in a third-party inspector that can really call these things out so that we can make sure that the builders are getting things taken care of so that you're actually receiving the home that you really wanted in the first place. Now, new construction is a completely different animal altogether. I help people relocate here and purchase existing homes as well as new construction homes. And new construction is something that I'm a specialist with. I've built homes myself and renovated hundreds of homes over the years, to the point where when I help clients get into a new construction home and leverage the incentives that we can negotiate on your behalf to make sure that you get into that home at a monthly payment that is far better typically than any home that you could buy that's an existing home, we make sure that we get the inspection process taken care of, and we bring in those third-party inspectors to make sure that you're getting the home that you deserve. And honestly, if you're considering new construction, you'd be really wise to reach out to me. I would love to connect and make sure that I'm guiding you through this process from the very beginning, because if you wait too long, you're going to lose that leverage. Make sure that you reach out to me if you're looking at new construction or existing, but definitely with new construction. But back to our inspections. These inspections, oftentimes people think that a new home isn't going to have major problems. I could share story after story after story of things that we've found found on new construction homes. One of those stories in the last couple of years that we were able to help a client, a family, make the move into Utah and move into a brand new home. This particular builder was not allowing us to do inspections on the roof. We could not get on top of the roof. However, with a drone, we can do it all. So once we put that drone up into the air, we could see that almost all of the fasteners on one side of the roof were showing. In other words, each course or row of shingles was not set down far enough to cover the fasteners on the shingle that was previously installed. What does that mean to you? It means that roof isn't going to last 5, 6, 7 years before those fasteners rust out and you've got major problems. It's this inspection period that really saves your bacon with respect to new construction. And I would make the argument that if you buy a new construction home with the proper guidance and with the proper inspections to make sure that the right eyeballs are on that property from the get-go, you're ending up with a home that's far superior to pretty much any home that's been built before within the same realm. And so I would make sure that these inspections are not overlooked. Okay, next up, I want to talk about something that can be a little sensitive for some, but that's buying in a home or a neighborhood without understanding the social and cultural differences of that specific area. Now, as a real estate agent and broker, I can't talk demographics, nor can I talk about religious makeup or other factors that could play into what you're going to do or how you're going to enjoy a specific community or neighborhood. But what I can say is that a lot of people are just misaligned from the very beginning because they don't know what they don't know. Certain neighborhoods are not going to be the best neighborhoods for people that are relocating from certain areas or certain backgrounds. And I think it's really important to give you the tools so that you can do the research and make sure that the areas that you're heavily considering are the best ones for you. Because this feeling out of place or this misalignment with respect to the social setting as to where you live could really impact you in such a negative way that you really dislike the move. When if you just had the proper guidance from the get-go, you would have ended up in a neighborhood and a community that was perfect for you. I don't want you to miss out. I don't want you to fall into that typical pitfall that I've seen so many others fall into. And so for that reason, I'm here as your local resource. I will get you the resources, the guides, the information that you need on each and every city, community, or neighborhood to make sure that you're looking at the places that are best for you. Okay, the next regret that I want to touch on is just not being open-minded. Some people make the move here and they're just dead set on new construction homes in a specific area, or maybe you're dead set on an existing home in a different neighborhood. Regardless, I think it's healthy to have an open mind and be really open to the possibilities of these different areas to make sure that we dial you in, starting from the top and moving down into the final home that you're actually moving into. I do like to think of this more of like a funnel. If you think of the shape of a funnel, at the top, we're going to put more things into it than what comes out the bottom. But as we put more things in the top of that funnel, we're going to realize how incredibly important it is to dial ourselves into exactly what you're looking for. And I believe that knowing what you don't want is actually more valuable than knowing what you do. And so you can't possibly do that if you only look at the homes that you really want the most. It's really healthy to make sure that we explore the possibilities and we can quickly and efficiently narrow it down from there to the point where you won't have that feeling of missing out on something that you maybe would have otherwise really enjoyed. And while new construction is phenomenal, it might mean that you have smaller lots. It might mean that you're dealing with construction delays. It might mean that you're waiting months before you can move in. Now, of course, I will guide you through the process to make sure that you're avoiding the pain and the anxiousness behind most of those decisions to make sure that you know the decisions that you're getting yourselves into. But I want to make sure that we remain open-minded. Okay, the next regret that people have when making the move is they got the wrong person helping them from the get-go. I've talked to numerous people right in my own neighborhood that relocated here from out of state, and it had nothing to do with me. I was not part of the equation, and they've shared with me the challenges that they experienced and the things that they missed out on and the cost savings that they would have actually had they talked to me beforehand. And I'm not saying that to say that other real estate agents and brokers aren't phenomenal at their job. What I am saying is we all have a specialty. And when your specialty is relocation, you know how to guide people through the process better than anyone. And that's my specialty, to make sure that I'm helping you relocate and think about the things, not miss those blind spots, to make sure that you don't have regrets after you move in. That's my ultimate goal. And look, Utah is an absolutely incredible place. Utah's got low crime. Utah's got the natural beauty and landscape that's unmatched in this country. It has absolutely phenomenal access to the outdoors with the #1 economy ranked across the United States. There's so much to love about Utah, from the nature to the outdoors to the economy to the jobs and everything in between. And one of the ways that I help people just like you make that smooth move to Utah is a 5-step system that I have to ensure success, to make sure that you land in the right spot. And step number 1 is reach out to me so that we can schedule that video call and have that virtual assessment where I can share with you all the details and answer your specific questions. And from that 1 hour, that simple 1 hour of time, we will get you so dialed in and so much clarity that you'll actually feel like you've taken that first meaningful step. And step number 2 is to pay a visit. Do that exploration visit and tour the neighborhoods with me. Every time people come into town, I spend time, hours with them, to make sure that we're driving through and touring these different areas to make sure that you're looking at the places where you want to live. Step number 3 is set the budget. It's not just about getting pre-approved for a mortgage, it's understanding the pros and cons and the different prices that you're going to be incurring and the costs associated with living in that specific area. And step number 4, once we find that perfect home, whether it's an existing home or new construction, to guide you professionally through that process at the highest level, including all of the necessary inspections to make sure that we're not missing out on something and getting yourselves into a situation that you're going to regret in the years to come. And then the most important is, after you've made that move here, to have that orientation and that connection with a real estate expert in myself and my team to make sure that you have the resources you need, whether that be a handyman or a plumber or anybody that you might need help with inside of the home or even outside of the home. I'm here as a resource with an amazing team of professionals and people behind me to make sure that we serve you, because when you move here, you don't know anybody here. And that's my #1 goal, to be that connector for you, to make sure that you have proper people, whether that's an insurance person or a title person or a landscaper or a contractor. You need all of these connections to make sure that that smooth move actually becomes realized. And if we haven't met yet, my name is Scott Steele, and I love helping people every single day make the move here. So if you're living in Utah already and you're looking to make the move, or if you're looking to relocate here, I would love to be your real estate resource of choice. You can find my contact information down in the description below, or you can book a call directly with me on that link that you'll find in the pinned comment on this and every video. And if this content is helpful for you, it would mean the world to me if you would just take a couple of seconds and hit that subscribe button, because it really helps me out get in front of more people just like you. So please subscribe. And if you're looking to learn more about life in Utah, check out this playlist next. And until next time, thanks.